Hi everybody, Jo here again. Thanks so much for popping in. As always, I'm looking forward to spending some lovely crafty time with you. And today, I thought we'd have a little play and do our April page in our calendar. Now, Tracey's given us a little bit of inspiration at the bottom of each month. And what I tend to do is create my design first on a piece of card to give me an idea of how it's going to look. But also, I get very nervous stamping directly on my calendar. And what if I make a mistake? Well, if I was to make a complete horlicks of the whole design, I would just glue that in my page. So it takes the pressure off a little bit, but also it gives me an idea for wedding cards. And I'm thinking this here would be lovely. You could add the hanging heart. You know our lovely fairy charms, and you could make this a wedding card, an anniversary card. So again, a lovely spring card. I'm going on spring because it's April in my calendar. Now I've already put some Lavinia low tack tape down the two sides. A bit of copy paper helps me. And also, I like to make a little flap out of copy paper just so that if I was to get any ink on here, because I'm likely to do that, it won't spoil the finished design. And I'm going to start, and I'm using our Wild Hares. Now, this is the Wild Hare set. We have a small set, but just be mindful of the different sizes so you decide which size you're going to use. And I'm just going to ink the stamps up, and I'm resting on my calendar, but because I've got the copy of paper there, I'm not going to worry. So I'm coming in with the black, the Nocturne, and I've just caught the edge of my stamp, so I'm just going to clean that a little. Otherwise, me being me, I'll get that on my calendar page, and I just know I will. So I'm going to stamp the first bunny, possibly here. And again, just give that time. It's a silhouette, so give that ink time to soak in and then lift up. And I love that noise, that. So we'll ink up, and I want these two facing each other. Now it could be, if you've had a bit of a fallout, you could be wanting a card where they're back to back, you know. Just saying. But these two are happy. These two are getting on really well. So, and again, I just want to get rid of that ink around the sides. So how are you doing? I hope you're having a good week. I've just knocked a bit of ink off his ear. Hope you had a lovely weekend. Now, I'm just going to place him. So again, we're going to be quite close, looking at each other. And I've purposely offset it. If you want it in the middle, my advice would be to definitely get it in the middle. I want it slightly offset because I want my stenciling in the end to just almost go into nothing. And I'm going for dark colour in this corner, and that's why I've only taped off that corner. So that's my idea anyway. That's what I'm thinking. So what I want to do now is use this gorgeous, and this is one of our new stamps, it's called Witch Hazel, and it just works so well for this. And I'm going to stick with the Nocturne, the black. And I'm just going to ink up, and I'm going to pop this just sort of here. Now again, you may have noticed my Wild Hare, I obviously didn't put enough ink on there, but don't worry, we have ways of getting round that. It's not a problem. It happens. Well, it does to me anyway. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. And this makes a gorgeous look, and if we put this side, I just want them slightly overlapping. Just to give that lovely shape. Now, I am just going to get my black fine liner pen. And I'm not altering the stamp. I'm just adding a little bit down here. Just so that when I do the stamping down here, it won't look as obvious. And the stamp I'm going to use next is lovely. It's called Buttercups. And if you're not sure how it's going to look, remember about your acetate. So look, if I bring the acetate in, so I could, if I possibly put that there, you see how that'll just get rid of the fact that I've drawn that and it was floating. So I think I may do that. So always remember to use that acetate. But I think this Witch Hazel is going to be a very useful stamp, and I just love the way that you can add. We've got so many different berries, leaves that you can add to this. I'm staying with the black for the minute, and like I say, I'm thinking if I put that there. Now, because I'm stamping onto the masking tape, you have to press a little bit harder, and you may get a little area that doesn't stamp quite properly, but don't worry, because we'll be adding some ink on that. You see, you get a little white ridge here. Don't worry at all, it happens to all of us, and we'll just add some ink. We'll disguise that. But it's only because you've got an extra little lip here. So I'm just going to put this same sort of idea. And again, a bit of extra stamp in there. But I love this bit here. So maybe just a little bit in the middle. And this is where, having my copier paper here, I don't have to worry if any ink gets on my calendar, because it's all covered up. It's all... So I've got this. And obviously we've got a little space here, so I know it looks a bit strange at the minute, but I don't want to overstamp this. I don't want to add too much. And again, usually I think it would just be too fussy. Use that acetate. So what I'm going to do is come in with one of our lovely woodland ferns. And I'm just going to stop with the black for the minute, but I'm going to come in with Avocado and Shady Lane, or Shady Lady as we like to call her. And I'm just thinking this lovely fern stamp can actually fill in these spaces. And again, I'm just going to use first and second generation and just have some clumps of fern. You know what they're like, how they grow, and they grow in amongst other plants, don't they? And I can just get this nice shape here, look. We can have a few in the corner. And even though I'm stamping the green on top of the black, if you look, it's really clever. It looks like it's gone behind, doesn't it? Because your black's a more solid colour, a deeper colour. That fern stamping has gone into the background, even though we've just done it. Do you know, it's still, I think that's so clever. So, Shady Lady next. And we're just going to bring in a little bit of depth now. So we can add a couple. We don't want to overdo it. And it's nice if you sort of clump. And this will just tail away there. Maybe just a couple here. A nice one up here, look. That's it. I don't want to, I like that shape. And remember, it'll stop here. So happy with that. And then what I'm going to use to add some foliage here is I've gone for the Wild Foliage set, and this is this little one that reminds me of a ginkgo leaf. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in some avocado first, because then it'll tie in with what we've got stamping on the bottom, so we get that lovely cohesive design. And then I'm going to bring in a little bit of Charming Pink, just because I fancied some pink. I don't know why. You know, originally when I started, when I was going to do this, I thought I was going to use orange, the summertime. And when I went to get it, I picked up, and I just thought, I just fancy going pink for a change. It is funny how our creative minds work, isn't it? So I'm just adding a few of the leaves and just following the shape here. Now again, these branches are so clever. And yes, they do make a beautiful wreath, I have to say. You know what I'm like for my wreath cards. Now I don't want to overdo this, because obviously I've got the stamping in the pink. So I'm going to stop there, but I can always come back and add a bit more of the green if I want. A quick wipe of my stamp. And now we'll come in with the charming pink. So let's just start this side and we'll have one there. If I just carefully think. Now, if you're doing this for a wedding card, you could perhaps find out what colour the bridesmaids are in, or the floral bouquet, and how lovely would it be to make it so it matched. It's just so personal. Right, I like that. I need something else there. Do I go pink or green? Well, I'm thinking if I put a pink one there, I think I need an extra green one there, but I need a pink one just over here. And then we'll stop. But I'm just going to, again, get my inky binky and just give my stamp a bit of a clean. But there's just that space there. But as I say, you could put a lovely heart. But I'm going to leave that. I love the way they're sort of growing together. You know, when I said I was going to leave it, I fibbed. I just want one more down there to fill that. Now I'm going to leave it. And what I need to do now is give this a good blot. Because it's a slow drying ink, the VersaFine Clair, and it will dry even slower on your masking tape. And next we're just going to add some colour in the background. So you know what I'm like, we want to minimise the chance of smudging it. So give it a good blot. And what we can do first is ground our little bunnies. So if I just turn this way, can you still see? And we'll come in with Pixie Green. And we'll just get our mini hill masks. And I'm going to use the flatter one first. Well, they all want to come out of the packet. And as always, I'm going to blend that ink on the lid. And I'm just going to come in. I just need to turn it a little bit more, just because that's the way I work. I just hope you can still see. I just find it easier if I go this way. So again, I want to be under our lovely bunnies and in this corner. So right to the edges of the masking tape. I'm going to pick some of that ink up from the lid. And then I need to be mindful over here, look. So I'm going to go right to the edge, and this is why I like to have the copy paper underneath, because I won't go to next month's. But I just want to almost fade that there. And then I want to add a bit of a hill. So I'm thinking, I don't want to, you've got to be careful, I don't want to chop any bunnies off with their ears or necks, and I'm thinking I'm going to go for that. Now I'm not going to ink up again. I want to start at this side because I want this side deeper, and I'm just going to go around the bunnies. And again, when I get over here, I'm going to be mindful to take my stencil off, and I just want this colour again to sort of fade into the distance there. And that's all I'm going to do with the Pixie Green for the minute. But I am going to come in with my circle mask now. And I'm just going to pop this here, I think just above the two of them. And it just looks a little bit more romantic, I'm thinking. So Blue Atoll is the colour I've gone for. And again, just going to come round the moon mask. Just holding it. But I want the colour deeper on this side. So again, I'm going right up to that masking tape. And if I lift that off, so I just want to add the deeper colour here, but then I want it here again just to almost disappear to nothing. So can you see that what I'm going for is deeper colour down this side, and then over here we're sort of disappearing away. And what I want, because I've stamped in pink, I want to bring a little bit of pink in now. So I'm going to go into the confetti, make sure I blend it with my brush on the lid. Because what I want to do is just bring some lovely pinks. I'm going to start here gently, gently on that masking tape, and then just bring the colour across, almost like a cloud, across the moon and over to this side again to disappear. And can you see that just brings those lovely pinky tones in? Now, when I got to this stage, I love it, and you could leave it like this. If you just want to build a scene up, leave it like this. But I just wanted some more interest in the background. So I've gone for a stencil called Flora. I wanted an open stencil. And what I'm going to do is pop my stencil across here. But before I do that, I've just remembered I want to darken this corner a bit. You see, it's a good job. Good job Eric reminded me. We need a bit of deeper colour. And you know when I was saying if you hadn't got your stamping quite here, one of the ways to get round it, and I've gone down to a number 7 brush now, dark denim, is just bring in some darker colour. And what it will do, it will emphasise this corner, but also it just gives you an edge here. So if there is a bit of a space, it will fill that space. But of course, I nearly forgot to do it, didn't I? So funny, isn't it? You have things in your head and order that you do things, and I think we've all done that, haven't we? Or is it just me? So just bring that right along the bottom. There we go. Right, I'm happy with that. So, as we were, you know this bit, don't you? You know what's coming. Stencil. And I want to put it so I've got some, I don't want that edge. So I'm going to put it there. And I'm going to start here. I don't want to go over that edge there. And I'm just going to use the ink that's on my brushes. So the dark denim. Then I'm going to come, we've got the green, haven't we? So I'm going to bring some green, and you'll be surprised what is on your brush. If I lift that up, you just get this lovely background, almost like a watermark, because it's tone on tone. And if the colours overlap, I don't mind. You get a lovely mix then. So we'll come in with some blue. And as I say, you'll be surprised what's left on your brush. And then at the end, we'll add some pink. Yeah. Now, if you really can't see it, you can add some more. But please try with what you've got on your brush, because you don't want to over-colour this. Eric, mate. Eric. Sorry, Eric's just dreaming. So when I lift that stencil off, if I bring it up to show you, can you see that really subtle, almost like a watermark here? And we didn't ink up the brush at all. Can you see? We've got some green on green there, lovely blue here. You might not be able to see it much in this light. But it's just such a lovely thing to do. So now I'm thinking finishing touches. And I'm going to come in with my pastel pencils, and let's just add a little bit of shadowing under our bunnies, and we'll just smudge that. And again, I don't want to do any more than that. Some highlights. So we'll just add some lovely highlights just where the moonlight just catches their ears. And then I'm going to give them a little fluffy tail each, and just give them a little bit of shape. And again, it's up to you how you want to add your highlights, where you want to put them. And again, I'm just giving that a bit of a... And what I tend to do is, I've got my white gel pen here, and I'm just adding some more. And I tend to do a combination of the two. So it's a little bit with the gel pen. I don't want to overcook it with the gel pen. You know me, I'm a bit scared of the gel pen. Mona's fabulous with the gel pen. And where this didn't quite stamp, what I'm going to do is just come in and make it look like it's little highlights, and just with my pastel, and just as though it's just catching, and it almost looks like it's the fur. For me, I find if I try and colour it in with a pen, it just looks like I've coloured it in with a pen. Whereas if I just add a little bit so it looks like his fur, it just adds texture. And we can just add a little bit, and nobody will ever know because you won't tell them, will you? So there we go, we've got that little bit of texture. With my gel pen, I'm just going to add on my buttercups, just some, again, little white highlights. And if your pen, like me, then just doesn't want to work, often just needs a scribble on your spare piece of paper, which is another reason it's a good job to have a spare piece of paper. And we'll just have a couple on here. Yeah, that's enough. I'll pop the lid on these. And I just love the way that flows. So, little bit of Stickles. So this is Stardust. And we're going to do a bit of a dot and dab just on the foliage here. I'm thinking spring, I want some lovely sparkly bits. So where we've got those lovely leaves, I'm just dotting a little bit. And then check if I've got a clean finger, well-ish. And then I'm just going to dab. So dot and dab. And I just want it on here. I don't want to overcook that sparkle. But I'm thinking again, if this was a wedding card, you need that sparkle, don't you? Last little thing, you know me, Posca. So this is a yellow sparkly Posca. Give it a shake. And then, remember, this is the bit, just give it a nice little tap. And I'm just going to put it down here, where we've got the foliage, and it'll show up lovely where we added that dark denim. And I'm thinking, because I've got the sparkle here, I don't want to add any there, but we'll just have it just a little bit here, coming away there. Now, I'm going to take my masking tape off now. If you're at all worried that it's not low tack, just get your heat tool and pop your heat tool on it. I know that my Lavinia will just come off. Just look at that, like, beautifully. But if you're worried, whiz your heat tool over it. And look at that. I just think that is so... We can get rid of this. And I'm thinking sentiment sticker. Now, I have chosen one. You'll be glad to know. You know what I'm like. I've gone for You're Enough. And now you see, I've put it there in my original. I fancy it. Do I put it there? Over here, that's too far. I quite like it under the April. Oh, decisions. I'm going to go for over here. Decision made. There we go. So that's my offering for April. And I just love the way we've got the white space here, the really dark colour. But when I was saying about your stamping, look, if I can bring it closer, that darker coloured ink here really fills that space in. And look at the detail. You can still see all those little dots that were on the stamping. Such a lovely stamp, that. And the stenciling just fades away up here to nothing. And it just goes, the whole thing, if we look at the base, I've just added a little bit of the Elements ink here and some Posca splats. So it ties the whole thing together. So there's my April page. And there's my lovely design, which I can now add to a card. Peace and harmony. So thank you very much for joining me. So enjoy your evening. I'll pop back tomorrow. You take care. Love and hugs from me. Bye for now.